Hello and welcome to the State of the Mets. I'm Andrew Vazzano of theRopolitans.com, and this is my weekly web show all about the New York Mets. Today we'll be covering a possibility for the bullpen, Oliver Perez, and finally a grab bag of Mets-related topics.
And it's out of here!
First up, we have a possibility for the bullpen. Now, I've been campaigning for the Mets to get another lefty in their bullpen because right now it only looks like Pedro Feliciano will be their sole southpaw in the bullpen. Right now they also have Ron Vallone on the team, and he has not been pitching particularly well, but he might make the team simply because he throws with his left hand. An option that is still out there is Will Ohman. Most recently played for the Atlanta Braves, and he does a mean Harry Carey impersonation. He is looking for about $2 million, and the Pirates are the last team rumored to be interested. There are also a few other teams like the Indians and the Marlins that could use his services, but the Mets seem not to be one of those teams, and they really should be. You can't really go into a season with only one lefty. I don't think it's advised right now for the Mets in 2009. So they should take some sort of interest in Ohman. They should see, how much he wants. Maybe just a one-year deal, $2 million, get it done, get him on the team, get him pitching because, the season's not very far away. So I'm not very comfortable with the Mets going in with only Pedro Feliciano. If they do carry another lefty, it's probably going to be Ron Vallone, who, again, I am not all too high on. So it should be interesting how the bullpen plays out. Outside of Vallone and Feliciano, that's really the only two lefties who have a shot. So I think the Mets should go out and take down and sign Will Ohman.
And it's out of here!
Next up, we have Oliver Perez. Now, Perez has been called out of shape by pitching coach Dan Worthen, which is not something that Mets fans want to hear. Perez was signed to a pretty big contract this offseason, so he is being looked on with a magnifying glass by Mets fans. He's probably going to be the third starter the way the rotation shakes out, and that's the pretty hefty deal for Perez, who is only a few weeks away from the regular season. He did make appearances in the World Baseball Classic for Team Mexico, and he pitched pretty poorly. So Mets fans are going to be a little worried about Perez, and rightly so. His mechanics were flawed, and if you watched him pitch, you could see how he was kind of coming out of his rotation, his windup differently. He was rotating his body differently. He was letting his leg flail through the air instead of bringing it down and landing on it with his pitching foot. So it's interesting to see. Hopefully Dan Worthen can kind of work with him the way that Worthen has recently worked with John Maine on his mechanics. So it's something to keep your eye on for Mets fans. Hopefully Perez can bounce back and kind of tame himself and control himself while he's on the mound. We know, as Mets fans, he likes to kind of experiment out there. So hopefully now that he's back under the watchful eye of the Mets coaching staff, he can return to the Oliver Perez that we know he can be when he needs to step up in a big game.
And it's out of here!
And finally, I'll end with a grab bag of topics about the New York Mets. First up, we have, is there a Bernie Madoff effect? I don't believe so. If the Mets needed to go out and land a player, sign him to a contract, I think they could. With SNY and Citi Field opening this year, I think the Wilpons will have more than enough money. They've rumored to have lost $300 to $500 million with Bernie Madoff. But I really don't think it affects the way the team is run, the way the team is managed and held. So I don't think it's a problem for the Mets. It might be a problem for the Wilpons, but I know they have some money that they can live off on. Another question asked to me was, what is the strength of the bench? I think the Mets have a very deep bench. With the outfield, the team's having a hard time figuring out who's actually going to come north with them. They have guys like Bobby Kielty, Nick Evans, Corey Sullivan, Jeremy Reed. All of those guys can play outfield positions, and only one of them is probably going to come north, and that's probably Jeremy Reed at this point. For the corner infield positions, they have guys like Jose Valentin for third base. Tatis can play third base. At first base, they have more than enough people with Evans, Tatis, Anderson. Valentin can even play there if needed. Up the middle, they're going to have Alex Cora on the bench. After that, it's kind of weak. But, Jose Reyes is a workhorse. I don't see him going down. Luis Castillo is more of the problem. But Cora showed some slick defense in the World Baseball Classic if you happen to catch him. So I think he might be overpaid with his $2 million contract. But I think the Mets might be all right if one of those players does happen to go down. And finally, the MetsPolice.com is running I believe it's just MetsPolice.com, is running some sort of campaign to have opening night at Citi Field changed to opening day. They believe that it would be better suited for the fans and for everyone to kind of see the ballpark in, you know, the natural daylight, the sunshine. So if you are interested in helping out on their campaign, I guess, you can check out their website at MetsPolice.com. So that's it for this week's The State of the Mets. I'm Andrew Visano from theRepublicans.com, and just a note, I will be attending the Georgetown-St. John's game in Citi Field on Sunday, weather permitting. It's supposed to pour all day Sunday, so we'll see how that goes. But if we do in fact get in, and if there is a game, I will have my camera with me, so there will be video and pictures posted on Monday. So if you want to get an inside look at Citi Field before you get to attend a Mets game there, check back on Monday. So that's it for this week's The State of the Mets. Again, I'm Andrew Visano from theRepublicans.com. Thanks for watching, and let's go Mets.
Butcher and the baker and the people on the streets, where do they go? To meet the Mets! Oh, they're hollering and cheering and they're jumping in their seats. Where do they go?